Welcome into PFF TV along with Sam Monson. I am Steve Palazzolo. With week 1 in the books, we're going to hit on all the biggest storylines, and it's all going to start with the Chicago Bears and Khalil Mack, the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers. Starting with Mack, it looked like he was going to take over the game, 20-0 lead for the Chicago Bears, a lot because of how well Mack played, but slowed down a little bit in the second half.
Yeah, for a stretch, Khalil Mack was looking like the deciding factor in this game. Sunday Night Football, under the big lights, coming straight into the building. Hadn't been there for very long, but when you're that talented, you can just get out there and get after it.
Yeah, and with Mack, he's still our player of the week for edge defenders, but I think it was really a story of two halves with his play. He was a 92.4 just from a pure pass rushing standpoint. His pass rush grade, 92.4 in the first half. He had 4 hurries. He had the strip sack of DeShone Kizer, and he had a pick 6 of DeShone Kizer on a screen pass. Just an absolutely dominant performance. But the second half was a different story as Mack only had a pass rush grade of 55.1 and only 2 pressures. It was a whole different game when Aaron Rodgers came back after his injury.
Yeah, Khalil Mack has the ability to take over games. It's why the Chicago Bears traded such a big haul to get him. It's why they gave him the richest contract ever handed to a defender. For a while, he was looking like he was an absolute steal. This was not overpaying for a player. This was paying to get a premium quality defender out there on the field. And it was doing its job. It was having an impact. It looked like it was setting the Bears on their way to victory. But ironically, Aaron Rodgers getting hurt may have been the best thing to happen to this offense, because when he came back in, he had to change the way he was playing. He wasn't holding the ball for an age. They were getting it out of his hand as quickly as possible, so he wasn't a statue back there. So he wasn't just a target in the pocket. And that meant that Khalil Mack's opportunity to make plays just vanished. You know, there was a second per rush that wasn't there anymore for him to get home, and that really took away the impact he was able to have.
That's really the number that sums it up. If you look at the time in pocket for Aaron Rodgers, 3.56 in the first half, and that got cut down to 2.29 in the second half. And the thing about Rodgers is, at his best, he could definitely make plays within the structure of the offense, but he likes to make plays outside of the structure. And if there's been a criticism of him the last couple of years, sometimes he doesn't take the easy throw, the easy first read. He will try to create outside the pocket, maybe a little bit too much. And that injury, because he just couldn't move on his leg, it forced him to make those quick throws. And that's why they made the comeback, essentially. It effectively took Mack out of the game because of the quick passing, only 2 pressures in the second half. And Rodgers, we know we can win that way. It just forced him to make the first read, hit the open man, and throw with the normal accuracy that he brings to the table.
And obviously getting Rodgers back on the field, and more importantly, getting DeShone Kizer off the field is going to help that as well, because Kizer was drifting into a lot of that Mack pressure, whereas Rodgers, we know, has a fantastic pocket presence, is able to maneuver around and actually keep defenders away from him. If anything, Kizer was doing the opposite, which was magnifying the impact that Khalil Mack was having.
So overall, Khalil Mack, an excellent game, 93.3 overall PFF grade. However, most of that production came in the first half. Aaron Rodgers became the story with the comeback that he led in the second half, and our boy Mike Renner has more on Aaron Rodgers and what he did to change the Packers' fortune in their big comeback.
You guys might have noticed a big difference between how Aaron Rodgers performed in the first half last night and how he performed in the second half, and that's no coincidence. Aaron Rodgers has made a living off of his legs and the fact that he can make plays outside the pocket, but as we'll see here, he couldn't do that in the second half. Of his first 7 passes yesterday, 3 were thrown away. 1 was a scramble drill. 1 was him scrambling outside the pocket and rushing downfield. 1 was him taking a sack, and 1 was an in-rhythm pass. He really was not hitting people in stride. He wasn't getting rid of the ball because he's so talented with his plays, making plays outside the pocket, that he thinks he can do it all on his own. But in the second half, he had to realize he has to trust his wide receivers. And as you see here on this play, on probably the best throw of the entire weekend, Rodgers didn't really have a guy open. Here he is at the top of his drop. Any other time in the game, if Rodgers is fully healthy, he's probably breaking out left, maybe scrambling up the middle because it's only a 2nd and 2. He can probably get that on his own, but with his knee the way it was, he couldn't do that. So what he had to do was give his guy a chance to make the play here. As you'll see, he makes an unbelievable throws that he is uniquely capable of making, yet in the first half yesterday did not want to let it go. And as you'll see here, Kyle Fuller in coverage on Geronimo Allison. This is open in the NFL. Open in the NFL in terms of your guy can still go make a play. Rodgers has to trust his wide receivers to make these plays for him. And as you'll see, if you let it run, Geronimo Allison goes up and makes that play. Incredible throw, incredible catch. But again, that would not have happened in the first half. Rodgers would have scrambled, maybe a few yard gain. Rodgers has to be able to let it rip, and he did that in the second half. And they helped him out a little bit too. They helped him out with a quick passing game. As you heard Sam and Steve say, the time to throw was 3.59 seconds in the first half, 2.26 in the second half. Quick concepts like that. A little in route from Davante Adams, easy first down. He just has to get the ball out of his hands. And this is the very next play right here. The exact same concept. Davante Adams runs the in route. Rodgers actually a little late with it. He could have gone back to the well again. Waits until Davante hits the outbreaker, hits him right in stride, and then again, trust your playmakers to make the plays for you. Don't have to do it all on your own. Davante Adams, very talented wide receiver. They gave him a big contract to do plays exactly like this. Beats Prince Amukamara to the pylon. That was the big difference between the first and second half. Getting rid of the ball quickly, one. Trusting his wide receivers, two. That's why they came back. That's why the Packers won that game.
We'll have more on Aaron Rodgers later in the show, but right now, let's discuss the Washington Redskins, Sam. I think when you and I were looking forward to the season and we were breaking down the NFC East, we said, man, the NFC's loaded, the East is loaded, and the Redskins, if a lot of things fall into place, they're strong in the right places. I feel like all of that showed up in week one. The pass rush, Alex Smith running the offense efficiently. Really impressive first week for Washington.
I think the Redskins are one of the stories coming out of week one. We thought in the preseason they could be sneaky good this season. I mean, they might be good, not just sneaky, overtly good.
Yeah.
That's what this defense looks like. That's what the rest of this team looks like. The defense has been most impressive. We were talking about the stable of young guys they have that can all get pressure. Just out of this game, 4 pressures from Matt Ioannidis, 4 pressures from Ryan Kerrigan, 2 from Jonathan Allen, even 4 chipped in from Pernell McPhee. And even beyond pressures, those guys had 7 additional wins one-on-one with their blocks. This is a team that can get pressure up front. The coverage was good. Adrian Peterson had a fantastic game. This team looks legit.
Yeah, they really do. And there was that pass rush that initially I thought we said, they're a top 5 pass rush in the NFL if all of these guys stay healthy. That was a big part of it. Jonathan Allen crushed our college grading 2 years ago, was very good when he was on the field last year, and then when he's on the field yesterday, again, like you said, getting after the quarterback. Quentin Dunbar did a nice job at cornerback, one of our highest grades of the week on the back end. So there's potential on defense, and then you mentioned Adrian Peterson. He'll never be the biggest story on offense, but having that efficient run game, especially after the Darius Geis injury in the preseason, can Peterson keep this up? Because we saw a nice week one from him last year as well. Can he make it through the season at his age?
That's the big question mark. We saw that great week one a year ago, as you said, for Arizona. We thought Adrian Peterson's still the same guy. And then it just disappeared. The blocking evaporated, his game evaporated, and he was horrendous the rest of the stretch. It should be different in Washington, though, because the offensive line is much better than it was in Arizona a season ago. That should help him pave the way to get some significant play. 96 rushing yards in this game. 81 of them, though, came after contact. So he was still running hard, breaking tackles, making plays. What could really be the differentiator, though, is that they used him on passing downs. He was part of the offense on the most important downs in football, which he hasn't been for years. He's never going to be a great receiving back, but he can catch the ball on a screen and take it some distance if you give him some space. If you get the ball in his hands with space to run, and that happened a couple of times against the Cardinals. He got the ball out in space and was able to break tackles and plow down the field for some real big yardage.
And nobody loves to throw screens more than Alex Smith, who had a very classic Alex Smith type of game, 21 for 26, just very efficient when he was actually targeting receivers, not throwaways or batted passes. And the lowest average depth of target in the NFL, 3.5 yards. Classic Alex Smith, it's usually not that low, but trusting guys to create after the catch. No big-time throws, but most importantly, no turnover-worthy throws. Alex Smith has always played on winning teams because he takes care of the ball and trusts his defense. Can that formula work this year in Washington. It looks like the pieces are in place.
It can if everything else is in place around him, and that's key, because if you're going to be a game-managing quarterback, which Alex Smith is, you can win that way as long as the defense is good, as long as the running game is good, the offensive line. Right now, all of that stuff looks like it's in place, so Alex Smith being just a game-managing quarterback is no bad thing.
So Alex Smith looking good in week one. They even mixed in some option looks as well, using his legs. Keep an eye on the Washington Redskins this season. Now we're going to throw it to George Chahuri and Eric Eager. They're going to talk about our pick of the week and a little bit more on Aaron Rodgers and his historic night in Green Bay.
The week one lock of the week. It's a very nerve-wracking thing.
Yes.
We spend a couple of minutes here and there deliberating. This week, we went with the Patriots covering a 6.5-point spread over the Houston Texans, a team that people have been giving a lot of love for the Super Bowl. They really love Deshaun Watson. We like Deshaun Watson too, but we don't think those touchdowns are necessarily that stable because, history has shown that they're not. So one of the things that we really liked was the huge difference in quarterback position, and that bore itself out, I think, in this game.
Yeah, I mean, Deshaun Watson, we saw his grades weren't as good as his stats, his fantasy stats, all those types of things, and so we projected a regression for him. The market didn't feel that way,
Nope.
right? Every single green line pick that we had, seemingly, except for this one, basically regressed towards our number, and this one stayed pat. Perfect opportunity for a lock of the week. Watson, 57% from a clean pocket from those stable throws, and only an 8.5 passer rating in those unstable pressured throws. So he did not perform well. His supporting cast did not support him the way that they did a season ago, and we ended up seeing New England have a good time defensively.
Yeah, and there was that. It got sweaty at the end. Let's be honest here. But there was that sequence at the end of the first half where I think we saw the difference in quarterback play, the difference in coaching,
Yep.
and the myth that Brady doesn't have a very good supporting cast or that he needs some star-studded supporting cast. The Patriots get the ball back with a couple minutes left in the end of the first half. They come out in I formation, throw Romo and the Texans for a loop, march it down there. Brady is throwing through Phillip, Brandon Cooks, Dorsett, left and right. They score a touchdown, and that sort of cemented the difference in the two teams, I thought.
Yeah, and Dorsett had his way against Kevin Johnson, who we said was going to be a problem for Houston on the outside.
Minor issue.
They did a good job in the secondary on the inside, but on the outside you can't hide those corners. And of course, the Texans couldn't, and the Patriots on their way to 27 points.
Yeah, 27-20 covers that 6.5. Another game that was somewhat exciting was Packers-Bears. And the reason that it was particularly exciting to us is because it sort of cemented something that we've been talking about for a while, which is, look, pass rushing, it's important, but it is secondary to coverage, and we saw a little bit of why there, right? Rodgers gets hurt. He comes back, and he's got to throw the ball really quickly.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, Khalil Mack not getting there. Rodgers is under pressure, about 15 to 20% less in the second half. And the Packers march their way back and win the game.
Yeah, Mack was brilliant in the first half, but in many ways, because the Packers allowed him to be by waiting so long to throw the football in the second half, it wasn't that the Packers weren't explosive or they had some muted offense when throwing the ball short. It was that they were explosive and they made the choice to avoid Mack, and they were still able to get a 20-point lead and cut it all the way down to nothing and then eventually win.
Yeah, what's interesting is we've seen that in rhythm throws under pressure are still more valuable than clean pocket throws when you're scrambling around, not in rhythm. And that's what Rodgers was doing repeatedly. I think 57% of his throws came in 2 seconds or less in the second half after just 1 in the first half. So it was really quite impressive, and I think something to remember going forward when we're talking about pass rush versus coverage. We'll see if Rodgers can make his way into a lock of the week going forward. I have a feeling, just maybe.
It wouldn't be week one if we did not touch on the rookies, those debuts that really stood out, and there's no better way to do it than using the PFF play-by-play grading system. So Sam, let's run through a few rookies that really impressed in their debuts, starting with Fred Warner of the San Francisco 49ers at linebacker. He was all over the field making plays.
Yeah, we expected this to be an area of concern for the 49ers without Reuben Foster on the field, but Fred Warner stepped in there and almost didn't miss a beat from Foster. He led the team in defensive stops, 5 of them, led the team in tackles. There was a forced fumble in there. There was a pass breakup. He was all over the field on defense for the 49ers and looked like the latest linebacking stud that the 49ers have managed to find in the draft. It's incredible the run they've been able to have.
They've really been rolling through good rookie linebackers. When Warner and Foster are playing together, it could be a really nice tandem. The other guy that really stood out for us, Gennard Avery. We could call him a linebacker. We could call him an edge defender. That's what he played at college in Memphis. And for the Cleveland Browns yesterday, 3 pressures and really got after the quarterback, showed those pass rushing skills from college.
Yeah, and another guy with a forced fumble to his name, making big plays, turning over the ball. Gennard Avery looks like the player he looked like in college, which is he may not be the conventional body type when it comes to an edge rusher. He's a little more stocky, compact, doesn't have the length you want for those big edge rushers, but he just beats his man consistently and applies pressure on the quarterback. Did it all the way through college and has done it so far. Made our team of the week ahead of Von Miller, Steve.
Yeah, pretty impressive a debut for Avery. And we're not a fantasy show by any means, but I would imagine that Will Dissly was probably the #1 pickup when it comes to waiver wire. Everybody's scrambling to figure out who is this guy, because he was pretty much a blocking tight end coming out of Washington, one of our highest run blocking grades last year at tight end for all of the draft class tight ends. And he comes out and he's a big receiving threat for Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, 3 catches for 105 yards. I mean, those are deep threat wide receiver numbers, not tight end numbers, not blocking tight end numbers anyway. And if you look at the tape, there's some incredible moves after the catch, some impressive moves just to get open in the first place, but caught 1 pass on a dig, busted tackles left and right, and almost got his way in for a second touchdown as well. Some of these numbers were helped a little bit by the fact that the Broncos, for some reason, kept putting Bradley Chubb in coverage on Dissly, and that's not going to work.
You think that's not sustainable?
I do. I do think you want your pass rusher rushing the passer, not covering the tight end deep down the field. But you can't take anything away from Dissly. He played a fantastic game, looked like a legit receiving threat, not a blocker.
Back to linebacker, and it was Jawan Bentley of the New England Patriots who impressed the entire preseason. He was our highest graded run-stopping linebacker in the nation last year, went in the 5th round, and you wrote him up in our draft guide and you said, I'm really intrigued by this guy. If he goes to the right situation, he could be good. Patriots might be a perfect situation for him. He had a great week 1.
And that's the key. There may be no better situation for a linebacker with an unusual skill set for today's NFL to land in than the New England Patriots, because no team is better at putting a player in the position to succeed at minimizing what he does badly than the Patriots. And that run defense grade showed up here. 87.7 run defense grade for this game, and he wasn't exposed in coverage the way you feared he might be, judging from his college tape.
Absolute hammer in the run game. Last name, though, it is Denzel Ward, Cleveland Browns, the #4 overall pick, 2 interceptions in his debut. The big debate was the Bradley Chubb versus Denzel Ward at #4 discussion. We were big proponents of Ward at #4, and it looks like he's already helping to solidify Cleveland's pass defense.
Yeah, and look, Bradley Chubb got some pressure in that game, so you can't hate on him too much. But, Chubb was exposed in coverage, not the thing he should be doing against Dissly, whereas Ward was turning the ball over. Ward had 2 interceptions, one of which was a phenomenal play. Marcus Peters-esque, dare we say, coming off his guy, reading where Ben Roethlisberger wanted to go with the ball, diving in front of it to make the interception. The other one's a little bit luckier, just lands in his hands. But this is a guy that was shutting down significant portions of his field and making plays on the ball to turn it over. I think had a significantly higher effect on his game than Bradley Chubb did in his.
Did give up a touchdown to Antonio Brown, really tightly contested catch in the end zone, but hey, it's Antonio Brown. He's going to win a few, might not be the last one. Another guy that's not necessarily a rookie, but only his second NFL start is Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs. And our guy Mike Renner has the breakdown on what makes Patrick Mahomes so special.
Now I get to talk about one of my favorite quarterback performances of the weekend. Patrick Mahomes, the second-year quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, pathologically on the opposite end of the spectrum from Alex Smith. He threw a ton of balls down the field this past week. 14.6 was his average depth of target. The highest we've ever seen for a single season is only 13.4. I think Patrick Mahomes has a good chance of breaking that because he loves to throw the ball deep. Alex Smith was the check down king. As you'll see here, he's working the trip side. On a 3rd and 13, he has Travis Kelce right there open. He's wide open. He could, theoretically, he has about 4 yards behind him of space where he could get that first down. But Patrick Mahomes knows if he buys himself a little time, Tyreek Hill's running down the seam and a corner route against the safety to where he can fit that into him in a wide open lane there because Tyreek Hill the most explosive wide receiver in the NFL right now. Patrick Mahomes goes for it. Not a perfectly on-target throw, but good enough. And those explosive plays change games. As you'll see here, they roasted one of the top pass defenses in the NFL in the Los Angeles Chargers because of Patrick Mahomes' ability to throw the ball down the field. Later in this drive, as we'll see here, another trips concept to one side where he's working a flood on this one. Again, he has the running back in the flat. The linebacker, he dipped off into zone coverage. He has, again, that's a 5-yard gain there. That's a nice, easy pickup that Alex Smith would have taken. Patrick Mahomes, though, has no time for that. He's going downfield. He has a fullback matched up on a vertical against the linebacker. That's a win in his eyes. Dime right there to Anthony Sherman for the touchdown. These are special throws, special plays that, again, Alex Smith was not willing to make throws like this. Now Andy Reid has a quarterback like that at his disposal with a very, very creative offense that they run there in Kansas City, and arguably the biggest stable of weapons in the NFL right now. Teams should be scared of the Kansas City Chiefs offense.
All right, it's PFF Team of the Week time. And as well as Patrick Mahomes played, he had no shot at quarterback this week.
No shot?
Because of Fitzmagic, man. He was unbelievable. Ryan Fitzpatrick going to be our quarterback of the week. Of course, it's all powered by the PFF play-by-play grading. So let's get into the team, starting with Ryan Fitzpatrick, who was absolutely incredible, dropping dime after dime, big-time throw after big-time throw, led the league in those big-time throws. Those are our highest-graded throws. And he went 4 for 5 for 179 yards and 3 touchdowns on those deep 20-plus yard downfield throws.
Yeah, if you didn't see Ryan Fitzpatrick play in this game and you're just working on the basis of what you know Ryan Fitzpatrick is, go and watch the game. He was absolutely phenomenal. This was the best Ryan Fitzpatrick you'll ever see. Both of his receivers made the team of the week as well. Both Deshaun Jackson and Mike Evans made this team. Combined, they caught all 12 of the targets that were sent their way for 293 yards and 3 touchdowns. Perfect passer rating from Ryan Fitzpatrick aimed at either of these guys, both these guys. Basically, as a connection, they were perfect.
Pretty efficient when you got the QB of the week thrown your way. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball. And one name to highlight, Fletcher Cox, kicked off the season on Thursday night with an incredible performance, dominating the Atlanta Falcons offensive line. 48 snaps as a pass rusher, so he's out there for a lot for a big guy. Picked up 7 total pressures, had 6 other wins that were so quick. The ball got out a little quick, and you didn't get an actual pressure for that. 7 total pressures, including a sack and 3 quarterback hits.
Defensive side of the ball, Deion Jones, the Atlanta Falcons, the best coverage linebacker in the game, showed exactly why again. PFF grade over 90, gave up 4 catches, but they went for 19 yards while having an interception and a pass breakup as well. You do not simply pass the ball against Deion Jones.
Flying to the ball on Thursday night. And the last name to highlight, we already mentioned, or one of the last names, the rookie, Denzel Ward. Cleveland Browns had the 2 picks of Ben Roethlisberger, broke up another pass. Incredible debut, showing that coverage matters, and the Browns made the right move. We're overreacting in week 1. They made the right move. Denzel Ward, team of the week as a rookie in his debut.
The last guy to mention, though, Earl Thomas. We did a video on him just as he reported to the Seattle Seahawks. He didn't need any training camp. He didn't need time to get up to speed. He rolled straight in, got on the game, got an interception, played absolutely fantastically, showed exactly why he is the best free safety in the game, makes team of the week.
That'll do it for us today. For the rest of the team of the week, be sure to get to ProFootballFocus.com. That'll be PFF TV for the week. We'll see you guys next week with our Week 2 recap.